Okay, we're on. We're on. Thanks for coming on to the live tonight. Um, there's only one person on here, so I want to thank Mary Margaret for being my audience tonight. I appreciate you and all the support that you have given me on this journey and many others. So thank you for that. Um, so I thought there'd be no better way to wind down Black History Month than to have a conversation about imposter phenomenon. And up until yesterday, I've been calling it imposter syndrome because that's what I thought it was. When I was educated by several people, including some of the people or some of the sources that I used to come up with this message for tonight. So that's really the spirit behind what I want to say tonight. And so I'm glad that you are joining me for this, and I hope that it proves to be worth your time. So let's just dive right into it. We have the chat here. If you have questions, please put them in the chat, or if you have comment, love to hear it. So would love to hear anything you got to say or anything you have to add to the discussion. And let me pull my chat up as well, make sure I'm still seeing what you're seeing, and then we'll get into this. Got it. Hmm. What is what it is? Here we go. What I would love to see is what people see when they're watching this stream. That's what I would love to see. Oh, there it is. Cool. So, welcome to the live event. Thanks for attending. Would love to hear your perspectives and feedback. Cool. All right, perfect. All right, we're ready to go. All right. So tonight we're going to talk about you belong here, embracing your worth, overcoming imposter phenomenon as a person of color. And if you've ever walked into a room and felt like you accidentally crashed someone else's party, this is the message for you. Maybe you scanned the room and didn't see anyone who looks like you, or you heard that little voice whisper, they'll think I don't belong here. If that feels familiar, then let me let you know right now, you belong here, period. Imposter phenomenon likes to tell high achievers, especially women and people of color, that they're frauds, that their successes are flukes. It's that sneaky feeling that you only got the job or the award because someone felt sorry for you or you made a mistake. In fact, I was watching a TikTok video with a black 4-star general in it. And he was telling a story about, someone approached him and asked him, did they give him that 4th star because he was black? And he could not hide his anger, even retelling that story, because he said that with that one comment, you just erased years of work, years of dedication, years of service, just because you think he's a pity case. And that's why he's here. Like, he didn't really earn what he has. So that is imposter phenomenon. It's not something that's wrong with you. It's something that people bring to you, and yet it can affect you. So today we're here to kick that feeling to the curb with a smile, hopefully, and some real talk. So consider this message today your personal hype session and the truth about how amazing you really are. First things first, let's start off by calling this so-called imposter syndrome what it is. It's a big fat lie. It tells you that you're not good enough and that everyone in the room is either smarter than you or more capable than you. It's like a pesky mosquito buzzing in your ear, annoying and unwelcome. Did you know that even brilliant, famous people feel this way sometimes? Legendary writer Maya Angelou admitted that every time she wrote a book, and she wrote 36 books, every time she thought, uh-oh, they're going to find out that I've been fooling them all along. Surprising, right? Imposter feelings are actually pretty common. They just love to hide and make each of us think that we're the only ones who have them. But here's the kicker. These feelings aren't facts. Just because someone wants to tell you that you're not qualified, it doesn't mean you're not qualified. In reality, doubting yourself occasionally is normal, and it can happen to anyone stepping outside their comfort zone. So the next time that little voice pipes up, who do you think you are? Do you belong here? Remind yourself, it's lying to you. That voice is lying to you. You've got the receipts, your skills, your hard work, your achievements to prove that you belong. So let me tell you a quick story. A software engineer, let's call her Priya, landed a big promotion at a tech company. On her first day as manager, she nervously introduced herself to her new team. One of the senior guys chuckled and said, "Oh, I thought you were the new intern." Priya laughed along, but inside she felt like shrinking to the size of a coffee bean. And then that night, the imposter voice in her head went wild. They don't take you seriously. Maybe you shouldn't be a manager. Maybe they promoted you too soon. Total lie. Priya was absolutely qualified, but that, I want to say offhand remark, but it really wasn't offhand. But that remark flipped her internal doubt switch. Can you relate to that? The next day, Priya decided to respond with humor and confidence. In the team meeting, when someone called her by mistake, "Hey, intern," she winked and said, "Careful, this intern signs your paychecks now." And the room burst into laughter, and you know what? That little voice in her head got a little quieter. Priya learned that imposter phenomenon is just noise. She could do the job, and she did it brilliantly. That's why she got the promotion. The point is, when imposter phenomenon whispers or yells or makes offhanded remarks, sometimes it's okay to laugh at it and carry on because it hates being ignored and you don't want to let it eat you up. Now, before we go any further, I want to address the elephant in the room. I'm talking about the system, the environment around us that sometimes makes imposter feelings worse. because imposter phenomenon doesn't just pop up in a vacuum. For women and people of color, it often grows in the cracks of bias, stereotypes, and isolation. In fact, the whole concept of imposter phenomenon was initially defined without accounting for racism, sexism, or classism. Think about that. These standards of professionalism and success were built for a different crowd, and the rest of us have been pressured to fit in. So if you've ever felt out of place, remember, you're navigating spaces not designed with you in mind. Have you ever been the only woman or person of color in a room? Fun times, right? Maybe you've experienced the invisibility superpower. You say something, it gets overlooked. When someone else repeats it, suddenly it's brilliant, right? You know what I'm talking about? Well, you're not imagining it. A study of black women leaders found that 38% had been mistaken for someone in a lower level role. And frankly, I'm surprised it's that low. But many were told outright or indirectly that they aren't qualified for the role they have. That's the world trying to give you imposter syndrome. It's like playing a video game on hard mode while the other people around you are playing on easy mode. Of course, you'd start questioning yourself if you heard messages like that. But you got to remember, the feelings of doubt and frustration that you have aren't just in your head. They've been nurtured by real inequalities and biases around you. So we have to remember, you are not the problem. You are not sick. You are not broken. The biased system that we operate is the problem. Imposter phenomenon often points its finger at you, saying, fix yourself. But really, it's the environment that needs fixing. So you're doing just fine. In fact, you're doing amazingly, given some of the nonsense that you deal with that others don't have to. Here's an example of how the system can mess with us. Young black man, we'll call him James, starts a new job. On day one, security stops him because they didn't realize he was the new hire. On day two, a coworker jokes that he got the role to fill a quota. On day three, James is questioning every achievement on his resume, thinking maybe he is a fraud. But hold up. By day four, he remembers something crucial. He remembers how he aced the tough interview to get the job and how none of his doubters could do what he does. James starts to see that these comments say more about those people than they do about him. The moral here is that when society hands you a narrative that undermines you or sells you short, rip it up. Don't internalize those false narratives. Instead, recognize them as fuel for why we need things to change. The system might be sick, but you are healthy, capable, and brimming with talent. So the next time you feel like an imposter, ask yourself, who profits from me feeling small? We need to hold, the answer is not you. We have to hold our workplaces and schools to a higher standard, yes, but while we do, don't you dare shrink. You have every right to stand tall and take up space, the space that you deserve to take up. Now we're going to get specific. Imposter phenomenon can hit anyone, but it loves to throw an extra curveball at women of color. Why? Because they are often balancing on the tightrope of two or more identities in a world that hasn't learned how to deal with either one of them. It's like juggling while riding a unicycle under a spotlight. No pressure, right? If you are a woman of color, you might have grown up hearing proverbs like, you have to work twice as hard to get half as far. Thanks for the pep talk. Right, mom and dad? Now that mantra is meant to prepare us for a tough world, but it can also make us hyper alert and self-critical. We brace for the possibility that any misstep is going to confirm someone's biased belief about us. So we strive for perfection. And when we inevitably aren't perfect, because no one's perfect, we feel like, or are made to feel like, we failed. One survey found that 64% of black women feel like they have to stay on guard at work, constantly watching how they're perceived, because one slip might invite judgment on both their gender and their race. Living in this state of constant high alert can make anybody doubt themselves. Then there's the invisibility cloak we sometimes wear. And I'm not talking about the Harry Potter kind. I mean the experience of being overlooked or underestimated. Many women of color have stories like being in a meeting and people assume you're an assistant even when you're the manager or the leader. Or speaking up and getting talked over, or showing up to a conference and being asked, "Are you part of the catering staff?" Maybe it sounds comical in retrospect, and maybe it doesn't, but in the moment, it's definitely frustrating and hurtful. The flip side is hyper visibility, being the only one in the room and feeling like all eyes are on you to represent an entire group. It's a weird mix. Either you feel invisible or like you're under a microscope, or somehow both at the same time. No wonder this imposter phenomenon hits harder. It has more ammo to try to fool you with. And I want to stop and talk about the strong black woman trope for just a second. This is the idea that black women, and by extension many women of color, should be superhumanly strong, self-sacrificing, never vulnerable. On the surface, being called strong sounds like a compliment, right? Who wouldn't want to be? But that trope can be a double-edged sword. It pressures women to endure everything without complaint, which is just unrealistic and unhealthy. It can make you feel like if you do admit doubt or you do ask for help, you're somehow, again, failing yourself, your gender, your race, or your legacy. And of course, that's garbage. All of that's garbage. You are allowed to be strong and ask for help. The fact is, recognizing you need help or reassurance is its own kind of strength. The truth is, you shouldn't have to carry the world on your shoulders to prove your worth. Even Atlas got to shrug a little bit. So we need to dismantle the notion that you have to be perfect or invulnerable to deserve your success. Being human with occasional doubts and needs doesn't make you an imposter. It makes you authentic. Now here's a perspective shift. What if the things that make you feel like an outsider are actually your superpowers? Think about it. Your unique identity and experiences give you insight and creativity that an homogenous group just can't match. So maybe you're the only Latina in your medical class. You likely have cultural competencies and empathy that will make you a phenomenal doctor. Maybe you're a first-generation college student and you've got perseverance and grit for days. Or perhaps you're multiracial and sometimes you felt not enough of one culture or another. You might have even heard hurtful remarks like, "You're half this," or "not enough of that," or "you're not blank enough." But let me remind you, let me tell you, you're not half of anything. You are a whole, full, complete person. In fact, having a foot in multiple worlds or multiple cultures can be a source of strength. You can build bridges and challenge groupthink like nobody's business because you have a different perspective. One writer described how being both Puerto Rican and Chinese made her feel like she needed to be more of each to fit in. But later she realized that these dual perspectives were an advantage, not a weakness. Your heritage, your gender, your background, the whole package is an asset. It's like having a special lens that lets you see solutions and possibilities that others miss. Own it. Don't shortchange that. Let's flip the script on the very term imposter. That word means someone who's faking it, right? But look at you. You're not faking anything. You're not faking your identity. You're not faking your hard work. You're as authentic as it comes. If anything, you've been authentically achieving in systems that didn't always affirm you. So what's the real imposter? The labels and stereotypes are the imposters. They're fraudulent, not you. A wise person once said that when you're the first or the only in a space, you're not called an imposter. Those people are called pioneers. Pioneers, by definition, are in territory new to them. Sure, it's going to be uncomfortable at first because it's new. And that's because you're busy making history. Trailblazing isn't easy. But is it worthwhile? Absolutely. Because every time you succeed, you're expanding what society knows a leader can look like. So the next time you feel that twinge of, do I belong? Remind yourself, I'm not in the wrong place. I'm creating the right place. You're opening doors, breaking ceilings, and shattering molds. And that's heroic stuff. Here's the good news. You don't have to fight imposter feelings alone. In fact, one of the best antidotes is finding your tribe. People who get it, who uplift you, and who remind you of your greatness when you forget. There's something almost magical about sharing experiences and realizing, wait, you hear the same things that I hear? Suddenly, it's not a lone battle. It's a team effort. It's a community effort. Whether it's a mentor who has walked a similar path, a colleague who always has your back, or a group of friends who hype you up and relate to your experiences, lean into those relationships. Create a circle of trust where you can honestly say, I had a rough day. Let me tell you what happened at work. And they'll respond, I know exactly what you're talking about. We all need those types of people in our lives. Seek out professional networks or support groups to support people of color or women of color in your field. There's power in numbers and in knowing that your experiences are not just in your head, because they never were about you, remember? And also, let's normalize talking about imposter phenomenon openly. Ironically, the moment you name it and talk about it, it loses some of its grip. It's like shining a light on that monster under the bed. Suddenly, it's not so scary. It might even just be a dust bunny. If you're a leader or even just a good friend, be real about your own moments of doubt. By doing so, you give permission to others to do the same thing, and together, we can all laugh at the imposter voice's predictability. We all have days when we need a pep talk or a reminder. Give and seek reassurance freely. There's nothing weak about that. On the contrary, it shows wisdom to recognize the strength of community. Remember, confidence is contagious. When you surround yourself with people who believe in you, it's a lot harder to fall for that inner imposter when that voice speaks up. So, let's get down to some actionable steps, because I don't want this to be just a feel-good talk. It's a do something about it talk. So, next time imposter phenomenon tries to get you, try these moves. Number 1, talk back to your inner critic. Give that nagging voice a silly name like Naysayer Nancy or Doubting Diego, whatever, and literally answer it back. When it says, you're not capable of this, you don't belong, whatever, respond with, I hear you, but I got this covered. Or, no, I do belong here, negative Nancy, whatever. It might feel goofy, but it works. You are separating you from that voice. You are in control, not the critic. Number 2, keep receipts of your wins. Start a brag file, whether it's a folder of positive emails, a journal of accomplishments, screenshots of compliments you've received. When you feel low, open it up and remind yourself of the facts. You kick butt. It's easy to forget past successes in the heat of self-doubt. Concrete reminders, I did that, can zap you right out of Imposterville. 3, embrace lifelong learning, but don't over-credential. So yes, we should always be learning, but don't fall into the trap of, I need one more degree or one more certification to be legit. People of color, women and women of color, often over-prepare to combat bias. Truth is, you're already qualified. So take that course and training if you want to do it, if it excites you or whatever, but not because you think you're not good enough without it. You're allowed to learn and lead at the same time. Number 4, visualize success. Literally picture it. Spend a minute each day imagining yourself confidently speaking up in that meeting, acing that interview, launching that business, whatever it is that's daunting you. High-performing athletes do this all the time. They visualize the win. They visualize themselves holding that trophy up. It primes your brain to believe, I can do this. Why not me? And when the moment does come, it almost feels familiar. Number 5, mentor and mentee. Be a mentor to someone coming up behind you and have a mentor for yourself. Teaching someone else will remind you how much you actually know. Nothing exposes the imposter's lies like hearing yourself give advice you should probably take. And having a mentor gives you a go-to person for perspective when your doubts get loud. They'll likely remind you that they see your talent clearly, even when you don't. And finally, take a break. Breaks are okay. And practice self-care. Imposter Phenomenon loves to strike when we're stressed or burned out. We just talked about how if it can tell us that if we need to stop or ask for help, that there's something wrong with us. But none of that is true. We need to rest. We need to recharge, and we need to come back swinging. There's no shame in taking a step back to remember who you are and why you deserve to be where you are. So let's wrap this up with a good old-fashioned pep talk. I want you to really listen here, not to me, but to you. Listen to that deep down part of you that knows without a doubt that you are capable and worthy. Life has thrown you challenges, and you've overcome every single one of them to be standing or sitting here today. That's not a fluke. That's not an accident. That's you in all your brilliance and resilience. You've worked hard, you've showed up, and you've earned every bit of success that's come your way. Any voice that says otherwise hasn't done the homework, or they have their own agenda that doesn't suit you. Remember earlier when we pointed out how the world around you might not have been built for you? Well, guess what? You're building your world anew. Every step you take into that boardroom, classroom, lab, studio, or wherever your arena is, you are redefining what an expert, a leader, and a success story looks like. That's powerful. Confidence is not about never feeling doubt. It's about forging ahead despite the doubt. And resilience, that should be your middle name by now. Think of all the times you've bounced back, all the times you persisted when it could have been easy to just quit. That's proof that a fleeting feeling of I'm not sure I can is no match for a lifetime of look how far I've come. So stand tall, take a deep breath, feel your feet on the ground, and know that you have as much right as anyone else to dream big and take up this space and go after whatever dreams you've got. More than that, your perspective, your voice enriches whatever space you happen to be in. Wherever you are, they're lucky to have you. In the words of a proverb, our crowns have already been bought and paid for. All we have to do is wear them. So adjust that invisible crown on your head, queen or king, and step forward with your head high. No more apologizing for being where you are. No deflecting comments with, I'm grateful for this opportunity. Nope. We earned this opportunity. So take the compliment, own your achievements. When imposter feelings creep in, acknowledge them and then firmly show them the door. They don't get to steal your shine. Not today, not tomorrow, not again. You're enough. You're more than enough. You're brilliant. You're capable. And you're exactly where you are meant to be. The world needs what you have to offer. Your ideas, your leadership, your art, your compassion, your innovation. Don't deny all of us the gift of you by playing small or doubting your impact. Remember, you have earned a seat at every table you sit at. And if the table isn't big enough, bring your own chair. Build a better table. Whatever. You've got this. And when you forget that you've got this, I hope you hear this message. And more importantly, your own strong voice, reminding you of who you are. Now go out there and make waves. Be bold, be proud, be unapologetically you. You're not an imposter. You are an imposter phenomenon slayer, a trailblazer, a force to be reckoned with. Go seize your destiny with confidence. We're rooting for you. We're behind you. You belong. You deserve. Now it's time for you to go shine. I want to thank you for listening to this message today. If you got anything out of this talk today, please consider subscribing to my channel. If there's anything that you want me to talk about, I'd love to talk about that as well, because I believe that we all need messages like this in our lives. We live a hard life. It doesn't matter whether you're a woman, person of color, or it doesn't matter who you are. We all have struggles and situations where we need that encouragement and motivation and inspiration. So if that's what you're here for, you're in the right place. And look forward to doing more lives in the future. In the meantime, I'm going to sign off for tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.